Yes, sir, he got 3. That other nigga got a hit, shout it, he now. Set the city on fire, so he got 3. The king back now. Hold on, he ain't know how to act now. Hit the club, strip the skin, make the go.
Alright, welcome back, everybody. We are in week 6 of our videotaping, I believe. Episode 6 of Two Average Guys. So welcome back. Thanks for joining us again today. So we got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about our picks from last week, like usual. See who won last week, and then we're talking about top 10. Take a look at that and give our thoughts on the top 10. And then we got a few topics to talk about, Heisman again, and then we'll talk about a few other topics on what happened in college football. Some surprises yesterday. Had some really good games, and then we had some games that were surprises. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, you know, there weren't too many big games we had picked last week because on paper there weren't a lot of big games. but there were some upsets and some crazy things that happened yesterday.
A lot happening. So first off, our picks from last week. So I came in the week. I was at 14 and 9, and Jimmy was at 11 and 12. So after this week, we had the Cal and Utah game. Both of us picked Utah, which we'll talk about that game later. So we both get a win there. We had Northwestern at Michigan State. So I picked Northwestern. I thought this would be a good game going to the Big House. At Michigan, but you know, ended up being, I think, exactly the opposite of what people thought.
38-0. Yeah.
Jimmy picked Michigan, so Jimmy gets the win there, and we'll talk about that game in a little bit. Miami at Florida State. We both picked Miami. High hopes. Florida State, you know, they struggled a little bit in that game. They really had a tough start.
Miami played all right for the start, and looked like they maybe had a shot. But
yeah, towards the end of the game, Kaya had a shot, and you know, young quarterback, he's going to learn from his mistakes. But overall, I mean, Miami still looked pretty good in that game against Florida State, and once again, Florida State, you know, Everett Golson didn't have the best game again. They squeezed by to win a game. I believe their running back had a pretty good game again, so that was a big game for them. Big win. They sneak in at number 11, so just outside the top 10. So they moved up one spot. Of course, we have Wisconsin against Nebraska, which is going to be our first topic of conversation here in a second. But Nebraska loses, another heartbreaker for Husker fans, and we'll go over that heartbreak here in just a second. So let's take a look at our top 10. Number 1, Ohio State. Ohio State, you know, they struggled in the first half. I mean, they were tied 21-21 with Maryland for a while. And they ended up winning, what, 38-24?
I think they ended up putting up 49. It was like 49-28, something like that. They had 4 touchdowns in a row. I'm not sure how they scored them, but yeah. I was kind of keeping an eye on the score. It was 21-21, so I was keeping a close eye on it. And before you knew it, it was 49-21. Yeah. Maryland got a late touchdown to lose by 21, but then they fired their coach today.
Yeah, which... You know, Maryland put up a fight, and Ohio State was struggling again. I mean, Ohio State struggles every week. It seems like they pulled off a big win. It looks like a big win on paper, but anyone watching the game in the first half and even into the third quarter is going to think this game's going to come down to the wire.
I texted you yesterday, and I said Ohio State's not going to be number 1 after today. And of course, right after that was when they started scoring all their touchdowns.
So Ohio State wins again. They stay at number 1. Baylor sneaks above TCU at number 2. TCU drops to number 3, which I think is well deserved. I think it should have happened after last week, but just my opinion. Utah jumps up a spot to number 4. Clemson and LSU right behind them at 5 and 6. Then we got Michigan State at 7, Florida 8, A&M at 9, and Bama comes in at 10. So Bama actually dropped 2 spots because honestly they didn't look that good yesterday, but the teams ahead of them looked pretty darn good for the most part.
So you're not too upset this week with the top 10?
I'm not. I mean, I've been upset for most weeks just because Ohio State being number 1 still. I think it's a joke. You know, I can't say much more. I'm not a fan of Ohio State, but I also think that they've had some really close games, and being the number 1 team, they haven't really showed a number 1 feel. But then again, nobody has. Nobody in the top 10 has really showed, hey, I want to be number 1. I'm going to come out and win every single game I should and win big. So yeah, I'm a little more happy with this week, just because, you know, I think it's more fair this week, even with the rest of the other 15 teams in the top 25. I was not surprised, and I wasn't upset with what happened with the other 15 teams. So I think this week was a lot more fair than previous weeks.
Michigan State probably should have dropped a few spots, which they did. all those, the other teams in the top 10 there.
And we'll talk about Michigan State here in a second, too.
Baylor might be about the only team so far that has put up significant points in every game to the point where they would maybe seem like a number 1 team. I don't know how good their defense is.
Well, that's the thing. Not only are they putting up significant points, but you look at their rival TCU. TCU's giving up a lot of points, and they're putting up a lot of points. Baylor's been putting up a lot of points, but they're not giving up the points that TCU is. So I think defensively, Baylor's a better defensive team than TCU.
I'm not sure that Baylor has played quite the quality of teams that TCU has. Not sure. We'll find out.
They play each other.
And they're going to have to play each other.
So one of them's going to get knocked out, potentially up a playoff spot, just because they play each other. And last year was a shootout, so we'll see what happens with that game. All right, so right now I'm at 15-12 with picks. Jimmy's at 13-14, so Jimmy's a little behind, but I think we got like 8 games to choose from this week, so this could really make a difference between him and I and our scores, but it'll be fun. So let's talk about the Nebraska game real quick. So I was there. I was at the Nebraska game. Our producer Brian was at the Nebraska game. I tell you what, man, this was upsetting. First thing I want to talk about is the refs. The refs were pretty brutal. They had some really bad calls and some bad no calls in the game. One in particular, the defensive play by Nebraska down on the goal line when he went to jump the route and pick the ball. He almost picked it, but they called pass interference on the play. Your thoughts?
I know college is different than pro, but I was just watching a couple pro games this morning before we did this, and I probably saw that 3 or 4 times, that exact same thing, and it never got called. One time the guy even got a pick. And that would have been even worse if he would have caught it, because then they would have brought it back. But really bad call.
They had that, but then there's another play where Jordy Westerkamp had someone jump on his back before the ball arrived late in the game. No call.
But it happened to Brandon Riley a couple times too.
Yeah.
And he was like, every time he was getting up, he was like, again? And nothing? You got to call something. I don't know, the way it seems to me in the last couple of years, and I'm not saying anything bad about refs in general, but it seems like Nebraska does not get...
Seems like other teams get favorable calls.
Yeah, they get favorable calls in every game that Nebraska plays. We might get a call here or there, but when it comes down to it, the same thing will happen to us, happen to them, and they won't call it, or they will call it, or something, Well,
and then you look at the play down the sideline on number 25. Again, their defensive guy, number 25, I don't know his name, but we had Carter going down the sideline. Clearly a pass interference. Clearly, and they don't call it. So what happens? We don't get the call. Mike Riley gets pissed off.
Oh, that's right.
Which I'm happy that he showed some emotion. For the first time I've seen this year, he was upset in the ref's face, which I thought was great. A lot of fans didn't like that around me, but I was cheering him on. I thought it was good stuff because that's the kind of energy they need from a coach. Bo sometimes went a little overboard, but sometimes Mike Riley needs to show a little emotion. He did. I liked it. But then we come back and we picked on the exact same cornerback, which we should have picked on him all game because guess what? That time they actually threw the flag when it was almost the exact same play. So we run the same play. We get a pass interference once. We don't the other time. And then I think we end up getting 3 points. We didn't get a touchdown on that drive. So they call it once. They don't call it the other time. Exact same play. Huskers got some unfavorable calls. And then it sucked.
I will say that Nebraska gets a lot of penalties. And we can't have as many penalties as we had.
We didn't have very many defensive penalties.
Yeah.
Our defense played pretty strong yesterday for the most part.
Yeah.
Rush defense was good until the fourth quarter.
Yeah. It was
the fourth quarter, all of a sudden, they were able to bounce outside the tackles on us and get outside an open field and get 15 yards of run. They ended up out-rushing us in that game. They were out-rushing, out-throwing. That every team should do that to Nebraska at this point. But throwing the ball, honestly, the amount he put up 320-some pass yards, but Stave was not that good in that game. He had a lot of open receivers he missed. They missed the ball quite a bit.
They dropped a lot of passes. We kind of got lucky that they dropped a lot of passes. But we dropped a lot of passes too, I think.
I will say, a few players I was really impressed with on Nebraska's D this week was Kalu, which I have not been impressed with him so far this year. He's supposed to be pretty good. He gets burned a lot. He got burned twice in yesterday's game, but he was able to catch up to the receiver as the ball was getting to him and knock it by. And those were late in the game. Great plays.
Yeah, that was one
that was good.
They kept showing replays of it, and guy was wide open, and he came back.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And yeah, he shouldn't have got beat, but he came back and made a play. And that's what he needs to do to improve as a corner. And he showed it yesterday that he has what it takes. It's just getting that speed on the receiver from the beginning and not getting burned. And he had a couple really good plays yesterday. Marcus
Newby stepped up pretty big yesterday.
You heard his name all game. He played really well. I was impressed with his play.
Yeah, he was awesome, and we're sure. I mean, you can't really blame us for 3 defensive linemen out and 3 linebackers out. I mean, guys that start or would play a significant amount. Some guys are stepping up, like Marcus Newby. Played really well on the defensive line.
Valentine was back.
Valentine was a beast.
Valentine was a beast, but second half we didn't get any pressure on Stave. That killed us.
Wow.
No pressure on Stave. I think we had 1 sack the entire game. They didn't have any sacks, so kudos to our offensive line for not allowing any sacks. But our defensive line got no pressure in the second half, and that's where Stave got all of his passing yards. He got 200 passing yards just in the second half because we had 0 pass rush on him. We never blitz a linebacker. We blitz a linebacker I think once or twice in the first half, and we got pressure, and he folds under pressure. He can't roll out and throw the ball, but we didn't provide the pressure. So I think we need to be a little more creative on defense. Our linemen, when they were going up to the lineman, it was pushing. It's not like I'm gonna jack your arm up and go around you. I'm not gonna do a spin move around you. It was I'm just gonna push and hopefully push you back and out strengthen you and maybe get to the quarterback. It wasn't creative, but that's something the defensive line coach needs to be coaching them on. Hey, Gangwish, I mean, you haven't heard the guy's name all year.
Well, he was hurt for a couple games.
But yesterday, he did nothing yesterday. Freedom had 1 sack, I think, in the first game. Everyone's like, Freedom!
Freedom was out.
He didn't play yesterday?
He was hurt. That's what I said. We had guys that are out. Yeah, he was out.
And then,
which, I guess, when you watch the game, as opposed to being at the game, when you're at the game, I mean, you can't really...
I don't know their numbers.
Yeah, I don't know all their numbers either. But.
Collins had a pretty decent game, but he's one of those guys, they were talking about, top 10 draft pick in the NFL for defensive line. I like the guy, but he needs to show more up front as far as getting around it. He needs to do the spins and do the hacks, and he doesn't have that extra effort to get to the quarterback.
I feel like he probably gets double teamed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of have to have somebody else that can step up when that happens. Like some of the guys, like, when we had Gregory and Sue and stuff. I mean, Sue was different. But those guys getting double teamed all the time, you got to have somebody else that'll fill in behind. So,
so there's still a lot of work to do on the defensive line. But overall, I thought our defense, honestly, I thought that was one of the best games they played this year, even though we lost. But, that last drive of the game, we'll talk about that in a second. So coaching, I got to talk about the coaches here. So I rarely blame games on coaches. Usually it's the execution of the plays. In this case, once again, Andy Janovich, stud.
Long TD run was awesome.
52 yards, and he was the leading rusher with 59 yards. 3 rushes, 59 yards.
Yeah.
How do you not give him the ball more, for one? 2, we get the ball back. They miss a field goal, hit the goalpost, or hit the upright. It was awesome. I've never seen so much energy on the sideline and in the stands as I had that game. Everyone was jumping up and down, the whole sideline, every single player, whether they're hurt or playing, they're up, they're trying to get the crowd pumped up. They're throwing their helmets in the air, getting excited. They played some rap song and everyone's like dancing on the sideline, just getting pumped up. We got the ball back. There's a minute 34 left or something, or minute 28, something like that left in the game. We're thinking we got it down. 3 timeouts.
Wisconsin had 3 timeouts. Yeah.
Wisconsin had 3 timeouts, and we ran the ball 3 times up the middle. Same play, same running back. What the hell?
Yeah, and I was watching the game with somebody, and they said, on 3rd down, why don't we throw it for a 1st down? I know that if you run the ball, then they have to use their last timeout. But I that's what I said. I was like, but if you run, they have to use their last timeout. Then even if you give them the ball back, they don't have any timeouts. Yeah. Well, it's a little different in college with the clock stopping when you get a 1st down.
Yeah.
But if we throw the ball there, which I don't know what the right call would have been. You throw it for a 1st down, then you probably seal the game. Yeah. If you run the ball, you don't necessarily seal the game. That was the only reason why I thought that. My buddy Zach had said that, but I don't know. I don't know what the right call is there.
Run, pass, run. I mean, I thought 2nd down they should have done a rollout. Tommy's pretty good at throwing the ball when he goes left or right. He's better actually when he runs to his left, throwing the ball.
He's better when he's rolling out.
But when he rolls out, he also has a chance to run. And yes, last week I've heard like 10 people tell me this because they're like, no, we shouldn't have passed the ball. That's what we did last week, and it was fudged up. Yeah, we messed up last week, but also apparently wasn't the right play call. They didn't execute it correctly. It wasn't supposed to be a pass. But anyways, that's besides the point. In this game, I would have rather have a run on first down, which was fine. I expected that. Second down, let's do some fancy like roll out pass and get somebody going towards the sideline, get somebody out, get him out of the pocket. And I said it last week, we don't do 5-6 yard passes. It's not in Mike Riley's game plan. We don't. Jordy Westerkamp is like a Wes Welker. Do a slant pass.
Yeah.
We have Carter.
Slot receiver.
We have Carter, Welker. Carter, we don't have Welker.
If we had Welker, that would be pretty nice.
We have Carter, we have Westerkamp, we have Alonzo Moore, we have Jamal Turner, which he must be hurt because I never see him.
Brandon Riley. Stanley Morgan.
So we have the weapons on offense. It doesn't seem like we're using our weapons. We still don't have a running back. Who's our starter? Nobody knows.
Well, and we burned Stevenson's red shirt.
And all Stevenson did was catch 2 balls in the end zone and knee him down.
He returned one for like 12 yards from the 7 to the 19, and then that was when they
had the re-kick.
They did the re-kick because they were offside or whatever. Wisconsin was offside on the field. So they re-kicked it, and then we only got to like the 22. We actually would have gotten better with the 5-yard penalty, but.
So I just don't get it. I would have rather have even Tommy roll out and run the ball. Take more time off the clock if you roll out. Instead, they did 3 runs rather than 1, 2, 3. Took 12 seconds off the clock, and then they got to punt it. And it's not like Sam Foltz had a good game. He punted the ball really well yesterday. That wasn't the problem. But then our defense, they couldn't stop the run. And I don't blame this game on defense. The refs sucked the entire game, but we still had a chance to win the game, and it came down to the final few plays, and this wasn't even execution, this was bad coaching. You don't call those 3 same run plays up the middle with 1:22 left in the game, the other team has 3 timeouts. You need a first down. We don't run the ball between the tackles well. Or give it to Janovich, let him try. I think they gave it to him on third down.
They might have given him
they gave it to him on third down.
I think they did.
But it was still right at the middle. I mean, that's what they're expecting Nebraska to do. We're not going to surprise any team with our play calling at all because we have no creativity from our offense coordinator, defense coordinator, or our head coach. There's 0 creativity whatsoever. And that's what drives me nuts. At least Bo has some creativity. And I'm not going to give Tim Beck any credit, but every once in a while he pulls something out of his ass. And I'll be like, what the hell? We just did a fake punt. Like, what the hell? And you wouldn't expect it. But you might as well have done a fake punt there. I mean, same result from the game. But we need something to spark the offense. And right now, all that's happening is, we've lost 4 games, 12 points, all within the last minute of the game.
11 points.
11 points, all within the last minute of the game. A lot of people are like, oh, that's not bad. Nebraska's not. No, but only one of those games we should have lost. Miami.
We should have lost in the.
We were losing 23 points. We never should have won that game. But all the other games, we should have won, including yesterday's game.
Well, when every single game that you lost, all 4 games that we've lost them on the last offensive play by the other team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Hail Mary on the last play of the game. Then we lost in overtime on the field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lost with 10 seconds left to Illinois and 4 seconds left yesterday. I mean, it's heartbreaking every week. I mean, I was watching the game, and I'm like, it was going into the 4th quarter, and the game was close, and I'm like, man, is this how every game is going to be? I can't live like this. Like, I can't do it. And we were talking about, well, would you rather be in close games or would you rather blow somebody out by 40 points? Because people are always like, oh, well, you're blowing teams out, it's not that fun. It's fun to me.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot more fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Because then you can do all kinds of different things. You can bring all kinds of... Yeah, and I mean, I understand some of the games are going to be nail-biters, but...
Not every game.
And I guess, I wouldn't say that last year we got blown out by Wisconsin. 400-yard rushing game by Gordon.
Yeah.
I mean, I said yesterday, I was like, man, that was almost better than losing the way we did yesterday because we were getting blown out and it was like, okay, well, what are we going to do tonight? What other games are on?
I honestly, I predict a 17-14 win for Nebraska, and I was very optimistic going into that game because of the way Wisconsin played the week before. But I didn't expect I didn't expect the game to end that way.
No.
And that's what sucks more than anything else. And especially when you're there, you spend the money to go to the game, you're there, you're in the energy, it's a lot of fun, and all of a sudden, just fun drained out of you. Energy is gone.
Well, and I lost maybe one when I was a kid.
Been to one, and we
I
lost
think
to
just
Texas.
maybe one. But I don't want to go and see a loss.
So last thing I want to talk about real quick is fans, because obviously we're huge fans, and this is why it sucks so much. Is because when you're a big fan, you expect a lot of the team, and every week you're still gonna hope and pray, and you're gonna hope that they win and come out and play strong every week, and that's huge, and that's why I love being a Husker fan.
Yeah, I'm not giving up.
The fans at the game were awesome. They were fun,
Yeah.
lots of
Fans
energy.
are best.
They seemed to enjoy their time. Brian, did you have the same feeling?
Yeah, it was great.
Lots of cheering. Every play, defense, there was a lot of good energy on both sides of the ball for the fans. There was a fan sitting in front and about 2-3 people over from me, and I wanted to punch him in the face. And this was in the second quarter of the game.
Okay.
So early on, I don't remember what the score was. First play, we decided to do a little quick out, and it was an incompletion. He stands up. He's the only one standing. Boo! I stand up, I look at him, I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, what? I'm like, you don't boo your own team, especially when you're home. I go cheer with Wisconsin fans over in the frickin' corner.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, why aren't they running on the first play? I'm like, I don't disagree with you. I'm like, but you never stand up and boo your team.
No. Nebraska fans don't do that.
And you're wearing Husker gear. You're wearing a Husker polo. I was so pissed. Like, I understand. I'm pissed about the season. We're 2-4. That is the first time we've been 2-4 in over 50 years. I don't care how pissed you are about the play calling. You don't stand up in the middle of your own cheering section at a Husker game wearing a Husker shirt and boo your team at home. If you're a fan, be a fan. Be a damn fan and have fun, enjoy it, cheer on your team. You never boo. Whether you're booing the play calling or booing the players, it doesn't happen at home.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about it. I mean, you can be like, what were we doing there? Or whatever, but...
Standing up and booing...
By yourself.
And we had, me and him and one other guy, we had to settle down a little bit because we were kind of getting at it and getting pissed at each other. And there was 2 kids sitting with another guy. He's like, hey, there's kids here. He turns around to me and he goes, that little shithead over here booing the team. So that was pretty funny. But at the same time, never boo your own team, especially...
Agreed.
You don't do it. You can get upset, frustrated, but don't boo them at home. I mean, they're kids.
That's pretty bad.
They are kids.
Yeah. That's what
They're
people...
a hell of a lot younger than you and
People
me.
don't get
they're young kids.
that they're like 18 to 22-year-old kids. I mean...
They go to school.
Now they're
They go to
older
school
than
5 days a week. I mean, they're trying to.
Yeah.
If they're not going pro, which a lot of them won't, they know they have something else to look forward to.
I don't like. I agree with you on like the not booing. I guess I could see people booing in the NFL if your team's. You know, I still wouldn't do it.
They're held to a different standard.
But they're professionals. They do
They
it
get
for
paid
a living. They
millions
get
of
paid
dollars.
millions of dollars.
They're not
Yeah,
gonna make
these
them
are
cry.
kids that are they're going to college and playing football. I mean, it's
You don't do it. I mean, to me, plain and simple. So that was the sad part about yesterday during the entire game. But other than that, I had a great time. It just sucks that we lost. So second thing I want to talk about.
Real quick though, I just want to say that kicker from Wisconsin. You probably couldn't see him from the stands, but he was a fat.
He
man.
looked fat.
He was a fat.
He looked fat.
And we were cracking up watching the game. I was watching the game with 2 of my buddies, and one of my buddies, his wife was there, and my other buddy's girlfriend was there, and he came out to kick the field goal, and one of the girls was like, "Is that the kicker? He's really fat." It's so funny.
You can be fat and be a kicker in
I
college,
guess,
bro.
man.
You have to have the
classic.
athleticism to kick a field goal. So, minus your leg being able to kick it. And he sucked, dude. He was not a good kicker. He missed 2 field goals in that game.
Yeah.
And almost missed the third. So, anyways, moving on. Nebraska.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's get Minnesota next week. So, number 2, Texas. They beat Oklahoma.
I don't know how.
They played at the Cotton Bowl.
I don't know how.
24-17. Now, one thing I'll say about this game, for one, Oklahoma, I don't really know who they've played this year as far as big games, but Texas beating Oklahoma in the state of Texas, that's huge for one, but this is big for Charlie Strong. I'm a fan of Charlie Strong.
Me too. I am.
I'm a big fan of him.
Big fan.
I liked him before he came to Texas. He's a good coach, and I might even say he deserved this win. and to see the excitement on the sidelines from those
They
students.
deserve to win the game. I watched quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
They were up 24-10 actually. Oklahoma scored late, and then I think they got the ball back, had a chance maybe, but Texas deserved to play the game or to win the game. They played really well. Oklahoma, I mean, they were a top 10 team. Had pretty high hopes for them.
Yeah.
I know that's a big rivalry game, and it was funny we were talking about it before or last week when we made our picks. When we did our picks, we were picking the games that we were going to talk
Texas
about,
sucks.
and I go, Texas and Oklahoma are playing next week. Should we do that one? And both of us are like, nah, not after Texas got killed.
But it ended up being a pretty damn good game.
It's a rivalry game. I mean, those are kind of.
Texas-
We probably should have picked that one only because it's a rivalry game.
wins. I mean, but Texas sucks this year, and honestly, I still think they suck. But playing Oklahoma wasn't going to be the Big 12 winner anyways. I don't think they would have been.
I didn't think so either.
But Texas, I mean, this is huge. This is big for Charlie Strong. That's his first win against a ranked opponent, in the last 2 years. That's a big game for him. I mean, we were questioning last week, and everyone's questioning, does Charlie still have a job with Texas after the terrible start to the season? Right now,
that saved his
he
season.
does.
I mean, even if they don't do that well throughout the
won't
rest of the
fire
year,
him.
which they probably won't do great. I mean, they still have to play. They still have to play Baylor and
Yeah. I mean,
some other decent Big 12 teams, but
we hate Texas.
we do hate Texas. But I do like Charlie Strong.
Staple win for them this season to beat number 10 Oklahoma. They have no chance of being ranked this year, but that's huge for them, and I'm not happy for them. I have for Charlie Strong.
They
be happy for them.
They poured the Gatorade cooler on him when they won, which kind of cracked me up a little bit.
That was exciting.
That was probably the biggest part of their season right
Yeah,
there. That's probably the
will
biggest
be.
win and probably the best part. Good.
So Thursday night game was Washington at USC. You're playing in Southern Cal, and Washington comes in and wins 17-12.
Washington was a
17-12.
double-digit dog, as Jim Rome would say.
And I was watching a lot of this game, and I was texting you at the end of the game. This was a late game. It was
Late. I was
up way past my
kinda-
bedtime.
There
Way
was
past.
there was playoff baseball and there were some other things that
Hockey was on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an exciting night for a lot of sports, but Washington, USC obviously the favorite in that game. They're ranked number 17. And
At home.
Washington's got a freshman quarterback, and they got a lot of young guys on that team.
well,
The quarterback did not look that good, but Kessler, who was supposed to be a Heisman favorite again this year for the last 3 years, he has been, he did not execute any of the plays. His throwing was terrible. He was off target. He couldn't hit a wide receiver. He struggled big time.
well, and that dropped USC out of the top 25, obviously. They just kind of seem pretty inconsistent.
Yeah.
I mean, they could turn around this week, go to Notre Dame and win. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But Washington and 12 points. Washington can't be that good. And 12 points when you have all that talent and stuff that USC. I mean, it's USC. They're always gonna have talent. They're always gonna be up there because it's a prestigious place to go. A lot of guys go to the NFL playing at USC. It's a popular place to go. They're always going to have talent.
This is a West Coast rivalry. I mean, it's West Coast.
12 points at home is not, and I know we can't really say anything. Nebraska hasn't been that great, but 12 points against a team like, and what was interesting is Steve Sarkisian, he came from Washington.
Yeah.
That was the first time he had played there.
You should, Jimmy, you should have seen them 17-12 when USC got the ball back. They had a great defensive stand.
Okay.
And honestly, both teams defensively played pretty well in this game. I was watching it, and both teams, the defensive side of the ball was pretty stellar. And not that, like I said, Kessler did not have a great game for the hype that he has behind him. He definitely didn't play up to his potential. But this freshman quarterback, he was poised in the pocket. He was poised when he ran out of the pocket. He took a couple times to run the ball, but he doesn't have an arm. I mean, Washington, they're going to have to develop his strength because his throws, I mean, he can't throw more than 5 yards. His arm, he just can't do it. He doesn't have any strength on his throw. And he can't throw a spiral, from what I can see. But 17-12, Washington takes over USC. I'm not hurt by this. Notre Dame might be hurt by this, though.
Yeah.
So, that's huge.
Notre Dame's got, they have to play USC, they have to play Stanford. I'm not really sure who else is on their schedule.
Those are the two toughest games the rest of the year for them.
And so they need to have teams ranked as high as possible when they play them, and USC dropping out of the top 25 is going to hurt
Well,
them.
and honestly, Notre Dame being where they're at now, ranked, I think they're 14 now, to get back up inside. I mean, now that the only team you're going to play that's ranked right now is Stanford, I don't see them getting back up.
They
have no chance.
They really need to, or they're probably hoping anyway, that everybody's going to beat everybody up and have a couple losses. I mean, that's probably about all they've got.
And I don't see that happening, unfortunately, for them.
Unfortunately for them, wins that they thought were big, like beating a ranked Virginia team who's not really very good.
Georgia Tech
They
lost
killed Georgia Tech, and it looked really good, but Georgia Tech...
No, they only beat Georgia Tech 38-30.
Okay.
It's not good. It's not
Well, and they... Georgia Tech got killed.
Yeah, Georgia Tech has been terrible.
And so, I don't know. We'll see.
All right, so Washington over USC, number 17. I'm happy about it. And just so those of you that don't know, Sarkisian is now not going to be coaching because he just checked himself in for rehab, which he won't say, but it's probably alcohol rehab because if you saw his rant before the season started with a bunch of stakeholders for USC as a new head
That
coach,
was
he made
hilarious.
himself look like a friggin' fool.
That's
Cussing
hilarious.
and yelling and around kids, and he embarrassed himself, and I think it's an alcohol problem, which I hope he gets well. I don't like Sarkisian. I didn't like him in Washington. I don't like him at USC, but I hope he gets well. But he's done probably for the season.
It said he's taking a leave of absence for an undisclosed
Said something about him getting help.
reason or
That's
something
what it
like
said,
that.
yeah.
Is that what it said?
Something like
But
that. So he's out.
it's alcohol related. Hopefully,
Probably. But hopefully
it
it's
gets
well.
better. Don't wish anything bad on anybody. So
Yep. All right, so another three teams that rolled this week. Baylor. I mean, Baylor jumped up a spot. They jumped TCU, which I think was deserving. They rolled. Michigan, Northwestern. Let's talk about it in a second. But LSU beat South Carolina in LSU, but it was supposed to be a home game for South Carolina. Kudos to LSU.
very classy on
everything they
LSU's
did
part.
for
Not that
South
they
Carolina.
couldn't. I mean, not that they really had much of a choice, but even then, they chartered a flight for South Carolina.
They played their fight
The
song.
band learned all of South Carolina's, fight songs and all that. That was really cool. And even like we were just talking about, Leonard Fournette, our Heisman front runner, he did not have 200 yards this week, which broke the streak. And actually, he got outrushed by another guy. But he still had a lot of yards. He offered to auction off his jersey after the game, and with the money going to
The relief.
And I know NCAA has violations, but come on.
They won't let him do it. Well, and this is the thing too. They had a big story on him. I think it was last week before their game, and it was a story about him. 10 years ago with Hurricane Katrina, and being 8 years old, 9 years old, whatever. No, he was 10. He was 10 years old 10 years ago. So, and him being a part of that whole Hurricane Katrina thing, and he's like, I know what they're going through, and I don't wish that upon anybody, and I feel for them, which is why I wanted to do anything I could to possibly help. Which, once again, this is what college athletes are all about. This is what you like to see in college football. Not the guys getting arrested
especially
for
somebody-
domestic abuse, guys stealing lobster. I mean, that's not what college
Especially
football is
somebody
about.
like in his position that's, everybody that watches college football on the weekends, if you watch games and you pay attention, you know who this guy is, and he's doing something classy like that, rather than, like you said, in the news for something bad. It's
He
nice to
makes
see.
me think of like an Amir Abdullah from the. If you're
Exactly.
gonna compare him to someone from Nebraska, Abdullah or Burkhead, who did a lot in the community. And there's a lot of guys who do a lot in the
Yeah,
community in
and
college.
probably a lot that we don't even hear about.
Yeah, but
So-
kudos to him. Michigan took Northwestern. They picked them up and they wiped their ass with the field. That's what they did. They killed Northwestern 38-0, and I thought Northwestern was going to win. Number 13 versus number 18.
The reason I picked Michigan in that game is because I didn't think that Northwestern's offense was that great. I think their defense was good. Michigan took the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, 96-yard touchdown. Michigan's third game in a row that they had a shutout. And two of them were against top 25 teams. They moved up really far, and I don't like Michigan very much. I don't like Harbaugh very much. They're like ranked 12th or something. They're looking good right now. I mean, they're in a good spot. I don't see things changing. Their defense is good. Their offense is good.
Yeah.
They're kind of fun to watch, even though I don't like them. And I know, luckily, we don't play them this year. That's for sure.
I'm not who we play, but yeah. So those three teams roll. Tennessee versus Georgia. Georgia loses Nick Chubb in the first quarter.
Unfortunately, it's
Nick
a guy
Chubb,
that we like, and he got hurt.
He gets hurt. Tennessee comes from a 21-point deficit and they win the game. I gotta say it's because they don't have Nick Chubb. They don't have a running back.
I like Nick Chubb a lot. I don't like Georgia much.
No.
I was okay with that game going the way that it did, aside from him getting hurt, of course. But George, mainly I liked that Tennessee came back and won because Alabama beat Georgia and it was like a big thing.
It throws things up in the SEC.
Yeah,
that's what it does.
Exactly.
But honestly, Georgia, I don't mind Georgia, and the only reason why I don't think I don't dislike them is because they're in the SEC. And out of the SEC, there are a lot of teams I dislike more than Georgia.
That's probably true.
Bulldogs, Nick Chubb. Last year, when Gurley got hurt, Nick Chubb was the backup, and he came in and he showed he could have been a Heisman candidate. But this year he's had a hell of a year. And I don't know what the update is on his injury, but
I was gonna check, but
last I heard is they were hoping that it wasn't gonna have to be surgery, which sounds like it might be something serious. So
I think they said that it's not.
Okay.
But I don't know. We'll have to look into that more.
We'll have to see what happens there, but hopefully Nick Chubb is all right. And Tennessee, kudos to you for coming back from 21 points. No matter what the situation of the game, that's hard to do.
Unfortunately for Tennessee, they blew a second half against Oklahoma at home, and they blew that game against Florida. So otherwise they could be sitting pretty right now. We'll see how the SEC shakes out.
Bama and Ohio State both struggled again. We talked about Ohio State a little bit already against Maryland. Bama didn't really look good until third quarter. I mean, I watched some of that game, and they struggled for a while. They came out, and they had a couple turnovers. I think they had a pick six, if I remember correctly.
It was 7-3 at half.
It's 7-3 at half. This is not the Alabama we're used to watching, which I'm glad it's not because I hate Alabama. But they don't look like they even want to win a championship. They don't even look like they want to be out there. They don't have the same energy. The coaches are getting mad at each other all the time. And it's because they're not winning.
It's fantastic when they
Once
get mad at
again,
each other.
I love it because Lane Kiffin, I don't like him or Saban, but they're always butting heads. But that's because they're not on the same page, and you can see that in the offense. You can see it in the defense, and 7-3 at half. That's a piss poor game, especially in Tuscaloosa.
Something that I liked to see that I didn't think that I would see is that Alabama won a game and still dropped 2 spots in the rankings.
Yeah.
They
never
for whatever reason, they're like a handful of teams that like cannot do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Like you would always say, when Florida State last year, they were undefeated, but they kind of pulled an Ohio State. They would win, that Ohio State is doing this year. They would win games by 3 points or something, They didn't look all that great. And you said ESPN would always report, Florida State, Jameis Winston does what he does best. Florida State rolls. They won by 7.
Yeah, they just win.
It's like, no, that you should get punished for not,
being the number one that
a top team, you should drop when other teams are playing better than you. And
Bama dropped 2 points.
Bama dropped 2 spots, and it's
great.
Fantastic.
Loved it. All right, so Bama and Ohio State struggle. That's great. I think they're going to continue to struggle. I think Ohio State's going to lose. They're going to have a loss on their schedule.
They will have a loss on their schedule.
I think they play Michigan, right?
They play Michigan at the last game of the season.
They're going to lose to Michigan. They're going to lose to Michigan. I'm calling it right now. And if you want to challenge me,
I don't.
dare you.
I'm not going to challenge you because I agree.
All right. Iowa wins again. Iowa remains undefeated. Oklahoma State remains undefeated. But neither of these teams are moving very much. Oklahoma State actually jumped Iowa this week to 16, and Iowa's now 17. But why can't they move?
Oklahoma State did move about 5 spots, but they're still in that 16. They're 16, I think, and Iowa's 17.
Why can't they
Props
move?
to those teams for being undefeated right now. I can't believe that they are, but they are. And Oklahoma State, I know they squeaked by Texas last week, or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We had that that fantastic punt that we always talk about.
Yes.
They haven't done anything spectacular. I think that's probably why they haven't moved up too many spots.
It comes down to strength of schedule.
They're playing enough to win right now. Obviously, being undefeated. They haven't seen Baylor yet. They haven't seen TCU yet. They haven't seen Oklahoma yet. I don't know what that'll even be like. Oklahoma State. That's always a good rivalry game. But Iowa, they don't have a tough schedule the rest of the way.
No.
So, they're going to be favored in every game from here on out, I would imagine.
Once again, Iowa's defense keeps them in the games. That's what.
Certainly.
They what 30.
They won 29-20. It was 20. Let's see. It was 23-20. They got a field goal. It was 20. I think it was 23-20 at one point. They got a field goal to make it 26-20. Illinois had a shot, but Iowa ended up getting the ball back and got another field goal and kind of put the game away. It was too late at that point.
So Iowa and Oklahoma State win. It's hard to move when other Big 12 teams, even Oklahoma now, I mean, you can still talk about them, but you got TCU, Baylor, a couple other Big 12 teams that are making noise, and it's hard to move up when everybody else ahead of you isn't struggling that bad. Yeah, you have the one-loss teams, but the one-loss teams have tougher schedules.
And we're only halfway through the season. I mean, if the teams like that can keep winning, other teams are going to have to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, other teams are going to be playing each other.
SEC teams play each other.
Yes, SEC teams, a bunch of them play this week.
Yeah.
Big 12 teams are going to have to play each other. Big 10 teams are going to have to play each other. So
there's going to be a big mix-up.
Keep winning. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, Michigan State. We talked a little bit about them. They dropped a few spots, and honestly, well deserved. I mean, they played Rutgers. Rutgers is probably one between them and Purdue. Those are the two worst teams in the Big Ten. I'm still putting Nebraska ahead of them because Nebraska plays both, and I think those might be the only other two wins Nebraska gets this season. Hopefully,
because both those games we play on the road. So
yes. But Rutgers fourth down, and the quarterback gets up to the line, and he's sitting there, he's saying spike, 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 spike. Nobody else on the entire team is saying, it's fourth down, don't spike the ball. He spikes it, game's over. They lost the game. It would have been a Hail Mary. I mean, it was fourth down. A first down wouldn't have sealed it. They didn't have any timeouts left. They had to throw it deep to get a touchdown. But you can't end a game against the number 2 team in the country.
I think they were number 4.
Number 4.
Either way.
But the number 4 team in the country, you can't drop a game by spiking the ball on fourth down. But this is not the first time we've seen this. It's happened in college football before. It happened last year. I don't remember who did it.
I know it happened. I know it happened 2 years ago. I remember. But to me, I would say that's coaching. But if you said that everybody was nobody else was up for that or whatever, I still probably put that on the coach. I mean, you can't.
Well, he didn't.
I don't know. That's tough.
When you don't have any timeouts, I was watching the game. Quarterback didn't look to the sidelines.
Well,
he didn't look. I mean, literally, they had a play. He ran up to the ball. He's going like this. He's not even looking over the sideline.
Okay.
So kudos to the coach. He came over. They suck anyways. I think they fired their head coach already. I think this is the interim head coach.
They have like 6 guys that got kicked off the team, and
I think coach got let go.
I don't know.
So whoever the interim coach is, and he kept his cool, and I respect him for that because the quarterback came over and he just talked to him and was like, you messed up. It happens. Tapped him on the head. Game's over. Not really heartbreak for Rutgers. They've had a terrible season. They're going to continue to have a terrible season, but they still have a chance on one play to possibly win the game. It's just funny more than anything else.
Yeah, the fact that they had the fact that they were in that game, probably gives their guys a little bit of confidence. Yeah. But that's pretty funny. I'll have to catch a replay of that.
Yeah, it's good. So I'll put it on our Facebook page, everybody. Maybe Twitter it, tweet it. Utah wins against Cal in Utah. Now this game was pretty good. Now
I told you it was going to be a good game. I didn't think it was going to be as close as it was, and it probably shouldn't have been.
One thing that kind of cracked me up is that I was watching the game and I'm listening to the commentators, and commentators drive me nuts. I would mute every game if I could. Utah's not playing like the number 1 team in the country. They're not the number 1 team in the country. So why do you expect them to play?
The big talk last week was who should be number 1, who's deserving of being number 1, and I kind of threw them in there only because there wasn't really anybody else to throw in there other than maybe Baylor.
It's not a bad conversation.
But
why would you say they're not playing like number 1 if they're not number 1?
They won by 6 points, and the team they were playing had 6 turnovers.
Yeah. They had 5 interceptions by Goff for California, and California's quarterback is good. He had 5.
Pretty good.
He had 5 really bad throws that honestly it didn't really cost him the game though. I mean, it's 30-24. It didn't cost them the game. I mean, all they needed was one more touchdown to take the lead, and they just couldn't do it. It killed them. But 6 turnovers, 5 being interceptions, and a fumble.
What was pretty interesting is that those were the last 2 teams that were undefeated in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
If before the season started, you said
Cal and
This
Utah.
Sunday night game or this Saturday night late game at 9:00 versus Cal and Utah. That is going to be the last 2 undefeated teams. Nobody in the world would have thought that.
And everybody, and it was funny because everyone was like, "Oh, Cal, Utah, you're gonna go to Utah for a Saturday night game for game day." Like they thought it was the dumbest thing ever. But honestly, that game was all was cracked up to be as far as
and those were the
strength
only 2 undefeated teams that were playing yesterday.
It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that game, and Utah comes out on top, and they jumped up another spot to 4. Well deserving, if you ask me, especially the way they played the last couple weeks.
And the way that everybody else is playing, yeah.
Yeah, and they tried to fake punt again. It didn't work out very well. But it wasn't the punter that was going to run it. It was the guy right behind the snapper. He fudged up, so it didn't work out so well, but it was pretty fun. So let's talk about Week 7 games. Some of the big games, big matchups.
There's a lot.
Let's
There's
make
a lot
our
of big
picks.
games.
So let's see. We got UCLA number 18 at number 15 Stanford.
That's on Thursday night.
Thursday night football game.
Thursday night at 9:30.
Pac-12 matchup. I'm gonna be so tired on Friday, everybody. But
Why are they playing at 9:30?
it's
Well,
it's
they're playing
7:30
at
there.
7:30
But
because we're on Central
you're
Time
killing
here.
us Central folks. So
Killing
UCLA
those East
Stanford.
Coast guys are.
Yo, they're not gonna watch
They're
it.
not
So who
gonna
do you
do-
got?
I'm taking Stanford. They've looked pretty good lately, and UCLA struggled. Honestly, I believe it could go either way.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game.
It'll be a Thursday night. It'll be popping. Prime time game.
I'm gonna take Stanford.
Sort
Playing at Stanford.
Yeah.
They've looked good this year. They had the one loss, but Stanford looks good. I think they're going to win this game. UCLA has looked pretty mediocre this year. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think Stanford's going to come out on top in this one.
Okay.
And we both suck in our picks this year, so who knows. Iowa, number 17, at number 20, Northwestern. This is going to be fun. I'm excited for this matchup. And I know, Jason, you're excited for this one.
I know Jason's excited for it, and I know Iowa's gonna win, but I don't know if I can take them. Who you got?
I got Northwestern. I think Northwestern, after having a good season, a good start to the season, I think they're going to come out and win. I think Iowa's defense is going to play well, but I got to pick Northwestern because after the loss to Michigan, and they're going to be at home this week, I think they have the advantage over Iowa because they just got their shit kicked in.
There's a few teams that whenever I pick against them, they always win. So I'm going to go ahead and take Iowa
All right.
to go against you, and maybe me taking them will make them lose.
Maybe make a friend out there. We'll see.
Sorry, Jason.
All right, so next game, we're going to talk about Bama, number 10, playing at number 9, Texas A&M. Number 10 versus number 9. I don't even know, because I hate both teams, so I don't even want to pick a winner in this
I
game,
don't
to be
necessarily
honest.
hate Texas A&M. In fact, well,
I only hate him because of Johnny Manziel.
I didn't mind them when we were when Nebraska was in the Big 12 because they
sucked.
they weren't that good, so I didn't, they were fine with me. And now they're in the SEC. I don't really. I almost kind of like them because they kind of go in there and beat teams from the SEC that I don't like.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take Texas A&M, that's for sure.
so am I.
They're at home. They've been playing pretty well.
The way Bama's played the last couple weeks, I haven't been impressed with them. I think they're going to lose again. Having a Bama with a 2-loss season is going to be wonderful.
It
That
would
should
be
drop 'em
absolutely fantastic. That would put them
out of the top 15
of the playoff
Sure.
hunt.
They should be out now, anyways. Michigan State. This might be. It might be, and it probably should be next to the game next. But Michigan State at Michigan. We got a number
Unfortunately,
7 and a number 12.
Unfortunately, this game can't be played at like 7 o'clock because it's at 2:30 and that's when Nebraska plays. So that's upsetting.
I'm gonna have to go to the bar and watch it. I gotta have 2 TVs on. I can't. I gotta watch this game.
I'm going to be at work for the first half of these games.
So we got.
I'm taking Michigan all the way.
Okay. I also have Michigan. I think they're one of the strongest teams in the Big Ten right now. I mean, the way they've looked all season, I think I said it last week, I think they're one of the strongest teams. I think they're going to come out and win. I said Northwestern too, but
somebody else,
good matchup.
some other teams got to prove me wrong, thinking that Michigan's one of the best, if not the best team in the Big Ten right now.
Yep. So Michigan State, they've struggled week after week. Connor Cook struggled week after week. Supposed to be a Heisman contender. I don't see it. So Michigan State at Michigan, we both got Michigan in that one. Number 8 Florida at number 6 LSU.
One of the other.
Woo, this could be a good game. Here's my thoughts. I don't think Florida's all they're cracked up to be. They've looked good, but they've gotten away with a couple late games too, and I don't think they're all they're cracked up to be this year. I'm taking LSU.
I'm also taking LSU, and I don't want to pick every single game the same. That's one of the reasons why I took Iowa.
But I think Florida's going to run on them. Their rush defense is not that stellar.
It goes back to, I know it's a 6-8 matchup, but Florida wins a game and they move up 13, 15 spots or whatever.
They went from 24 to 11 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They're not all they're cracked up to be. They've played pretty well. I mean, they played pretty well this year. I just don't see them beating LSU this week.
Okay. USC at number 14, Notre Dame. Oh, man. Who are we going to take in this one? We don't like either team.
I don't like either team at all.
USC just got beat at home. Only scored 17 points.
Only scored 12 points.
12 points. They gave up 17. Their coach is now not going to be on the sidelines. They got an interim coach. Notre Dame just beat Navy.
It'll be interesting because Notre Dame is having a pretty decent season. The last couple weeks haven't been, exactly what they wanted. USC's coming off a pretty bad loss, going on the road. This is a big rivalry game, just like we saw with Texas and Oklahoma. And, Texas had gotten blown out the week before, and they come back and they win. I'm taking USC.
All right, Jimmy takes USC. I'm going to take Notre Dame. I've only picked against Notre Dame once this year. And the one time I picked against them, they lost.
So why don't you pick against them?
Because I don't think USC is going to beat them.
I'm not sure they will.
I think Notre Dame.
That to happen.
Notre Dame at Notre Dame. I hate USC more. Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They still have a good offense. I think
it'll be a pretty good game.
I think Kaiser's going to come out. He's going to throw strong in that game. I think Procise is going to have over 150 yards rushing and 2 or 3 TDs. I think Notre Dame wins against.
I know it's a different season, and they're playing, at Notre Dame as opposed to last year when they played at USC. But in that game last year at USC, Cody Kessler threw for like 300 yards in the first half. They were winning 35-0.
Yeah, but I still think Cody.
But it's a different season, different
New
place.
season.
We'll see.
All right. Touchdown, Jesus. Arizona State, this is kind of one of those games like, should we pick, should we not? But we've done that in a few weeks. It's a late night.
Those late night Saturday Pac-12 games are always interesting. So
Arizona State.
Throw it in there.
Arizona State at number 4, Utah. I think it's been a good game, but I still think Utah's going to win this one.
What was that last week or week before where that late night game, Arizona State played on the road at a top 10 UCLA, and they rolled them up.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of a good thing that we put that game in. I guess we have a couple different picks. I'll take Utah. I'll probably cheer for Arizona State, but we'll see.
All right, so those are our picks for this week. Heisman, we've talked a little bit about the Heisman this week.
Not much has changed.
But Fournette still in the top running. I think Ezekiel Elliott, I just don't think he's not Fournette. And honestly, he's not Nick Chubb. But I think, I don't know what he did this. I don't know what he did.
He had over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns.
I still see Fournette, and I see Boykin right behind Fournette. Boykin had a hell of a game yesterday, had over 100 yards rushing. He had a hell of a passing game. I mean, he's still a high-powered quarterback. I still think he's a little overrated.
I'm not sure.
But he's good.
I'm not sure who any of the players are, but I know Baylor's quarterback is pretty good. And you know that the Heisman, they love to pick the guys to go to the Heisman that are, you got to be really special on a mediocre team, or you're going to be the best player on the best teams.
You know who we haven't talked about yet is Utah's running back Booker.
Yeah, he's good.
Booker rushed for over 222 yards yesterday, I believe, with a couple TDs. Booker might be in the running for a Heisman watch as well, because with how well Utah's doing, like you said, you're in the top. You're one of those top teams. You're gonna look at the top players for that team, and Booker right now, he's a force to reckon with. Man, the kid is not huge, but he's a boulder. I mean, he just runs through people.
It'll be kind of interesting to see how many guys they send to the Heisman, because it's always different. There's always like 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah. This year, right now, they're really right now. If I had to pick 3 guys, I'd say Fournette, I'd say Boykin, and unfortunately Chubb's hurt. I don't know who the third guy would be. Maybe Booker, I don't even know Baylor. Honestly, I don't watch Baylor very often. I just know they got a high-powered offense. I don't know if it's a quarterback running
They
back,
were up like
receivers.
40.
I have no idea.
They were up like 45-7, like halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah, so I just don't know, but I don't think they have any one standout holy crap player like the Fournettes and the Boykins. I think those two are the top
We'll
two.
have to do a little digging on Baylor and see how after this next week.
Well, and if anyone out there likes Baylor, we got a lot.
If anybody else has
got a lot of people following.
If anybody else has
share your thoughts.
somebody
Let us know.
that they think is a Heisman contender, let us know.
'Cause I just don't know. I mean, those are my two. I think Boykin and Fournette, top two right now. I don't even know who to put number 3. So give us your thoughts, let us know. But I don't got anything else to say today except for go Huskers at Minnesota next week. We didn't put that game on the list. It's really sad to not put them on there, but go Big Red.
Yeah,
I still won't
Minnesota's
pick
been kind of
against them.
struggling. They ended up squeaking by, beating Purdue.
I won't pick against them until we play Northwestern and Michigan State and some of those.
Michigan State hasn't been that impressive. We're playing Michigan State at home. I think we could beat them at home, but we could win every game. We could lose every game. I don't know.
All right, got anything else?
I think that's it for this week.
All right, man. I don't got nothing else either.
The Bucks won today. Cubs, go Cubs.
Go Cubbies. Yeah, Chase Utley, you're a piece of shit. Dodgers, I hope you lose.
Arietta tomorrow.
And if you guys have your thoughts, let us know. We'll be with you next week.
Cheers, guys.
I'm on the road doing shows, put my back down. Mississippi to Philly, Albuquerque to Chat.
See you next week.
Crowd, yeah,